Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. Thanks for nominating us. We are Dylan and Matthias from They here in Amsterdam. Sorry if you don't mind, we'll present in English, but if you want to ask your questions in Dutch, that's okay too. The idea for Avoid the Shopping Crowds came last winter when we were thinking of an agency Christmas present for all of our friends and clients. And we had a very small budget for that, but we thought, what could we do to help people have a more relaxed holiday? And we came with the idea for a digital tool that helps people avoid the #1 irritation of the holidays is all the shopping crowds. So what we'd like to do is show the case film again for people who haven't seen it, and then take a closer look at some of the screens and talk some numbers, and then open it up for questions. Social media is great for connecting with people, but sometimes you'd rather just avoid people, like when you're out Christmas shopping. So we made a holiday gift for all human beings in Amsterdam. AvoidTheShoppingCrowds.com. It's a free mobile web app that gives you real-time info on which shopping areas are calm and which have become brutal consumer hellholes. How do we know where all the people are? They tell us themselves. We set up a program to read every check-in and tweet from location-aware services like Gowalla, Foursquare, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We've started with Amsterdam's 4 main shopping districts. The data is run through a secret formula to estimate population density. So shoppers get real-time information on the go about crowd levels at each shopping street, as well as historic data. The crowds loved it. 5,000 visitors the first week, plus features in national news and international blogs. So what's next? Well, there are lots of places people want to avoid the crowds. Avoid the Shopping Crowds was the first in a series of what we call anti-social media, designed to tell you where all the cool people aren't. We had a launch party for anti-social media. Nobody came. And that's just the way we like it.
Yeah, so that was Avoid the Shopping Crowds. I would like to go to the next screen. So what we found very innovating about this particular concept is that we combined existing data and using the trend of social media, everybody letting you know all day long that they're having lunch with their sister, but turning that whole thing around. So instead of drawing people to where everyone is, we want to give you the luxury of to choose to go elsewhere. As explained in the short case video, we use available data, things like Foursquare check-ins or Facebook check-ins, which we gather. We build up a database, and as soon as we started doing that, after a couple of weeks, we really saw a trend. So, for instance, it was clear that on Saturdays there were much more check-ins than other days, or Thursday evenings is always very busy. So we applied 5 levels, which is calm, not too busy, busy, very busy, and forget it. And as soon as we started applying those labels on the numbers we were receiving, we saw that it was already getting quite accurate. We did go into town to all the different shopping areas to see if it actually felt accurate or not. We had to do a little bit of calibration on the back end, because Foursquare check-ins is on the rise, because more and more people are starting to use this social media. So what used to be very busy is maybe in 6 months from now is quite average, because more people use the application. So we figured out a formula, as said, and a back end to tweak that. And basically, this is what you get. You open up the app, and in one glance, you see where it's busy and where it isn't. And if you go to the next screen, if you tap one of the districts, you get a little bit more information on what's happening there. For instance, the shop opening hours of the Centrum, and below that crowd averages, which I just explained, so you can get a bit more insight on what days it's busy and what days it isn't. The data is so rich that we also want to implement much more things like time, so maybe between 1 and 3 in the afternoon is generally very quiet, or it's very busy. So those are things, we can really take it anywhere. We've learned a whole lot with this case. Another objective of ours was to make it, there we go.
To make it that your time was over.
Accessible. There we go.
Thank you very much. Jury.
Well, first of all, I think it's very attractive to have something that can keep me away from the cool crowds.
Exactly.
But secondly, what I was wondering, because you said you didn't go into town and check it,
We did.
and I think we had a discussion about this too, that like how many people actually check in through these services, and is it then accurate? Did you get any feedback from anyone who downloaded it, and do you plan to take feedback into account in the future?
Yes, absolutely. Just to stress, you don't have to download it. It's a free mobile web app, so you can visit it. It's viewable on most devices. But there's an algorithm that calculates the raw data, and it's true that maybe we can say only 2% of people who are out shopping are checking in, but that 2% is pretty consistent in all the different shopping districts. So we take that raw data, we run it through an algorithm, we have a 0 point and a high point, which the guys, the developers at Mobilio, really worked hard on and came up with a great formula that we can use. Even that wasn't good enough. We had to go there in person and eyeball it and say, okay, right now the machine says this is busy, but I would call this actually kind of calm. So let's adjust the high point on this one. And we had to go on different days of the week. We really rode around on our bicycles and checked it and called each other until we had a pretty good calibration. And feedback we did get from people. A lot of people tweeted and said, so we tweaked it where we needed to. And yeah, it's pretty accurate.
To add to that, of course, not like 50 or 60% of people use social media like Foursquare, but it's all about averages. And if I were to tell you that there's 700 people in Kalverstraat, well, maybe that's not a good example. If there are 1,000 people in Kalverstraat, I'd be like, well, is that really busy? Is that average or is that calm? Like, you know, it doesn't really mean much to us because it's an abstract number. But if you apply the labels on it, it suddenly means something. And that small percentage of Foursquare users or Facebook users or Instagram people who upload images is already very, very helpful because on a busy day, it will be much more than on a very quiet Monday morning, for instance. So it does give us an indication of what's happening in the city.
I have a question. You're an agency, right?
Yes.
Did you try to sell this to clients?
We're currently speaking to a bunch of companies in Holland, but also abroad. There's been loads of interest, which we didn't really expect, but it's, yeah,
that
we're
was
speaking.
my second question.
Yeah.
Do they dare to buy an application like this? Put it in for the promotion?
Yes, I think there's a couple of, again, companies we're speaking to, which I can't say too much about, but it was touched upon briefly in the case video. There's so many applications for this technology. You can imagine that maybe IKEA, which doesn't have a direct competitor, is very interested in spreading their crowds, for instance. But maybe H&M isn't, because then you go to the other shop, which is similar. You know, so per industry or per shop. And now I'm talking about shops, but there's other applications as well, or museums and stuff like that. It could be very interesting to give that information away or to repackage that information in a different way. But to see where people are and then flipping that around has major potential, and we're currently overwhelmed and inspired to take this a long way.
Yeah, our highest ambition, what we'd like to do, is have a dynamic population density map of the entire world that other parties can plug into and use for whatever other purposes. If it's tourism, or you want to visit the gym when it's not too crowded, or whatever, it's something we'd like to share with everyone. We need more time and resources, and that's what we're doing. Yeah.